When I have a service day, the first thing I do is arrive at the office. And there are three offices that I can go to. The first one is Edward Hospital. And this is mainly for clinic days where all of the students that he has meet and we discuss about our projects. For example, on Monday, we each gave a 10-minute presentation about a design or a specified topic that his research fellow wanted us to do. For example, I got XLIF, so I made a presentation about XLIF. The second hospital I can go to is Hinsdale Hospital, and this one is mainly for OR rooms. And he really likes this one because he always has two rooms where he can finish one surgery and then go right on to the next room and then back and forth. So it's just more efficient for him. The last hospital that I go to sometimes is Westmont Hospital, and this is a set also for clinic days where I can meet a lot of the patients with Dr. Patel. And this was the office where I went on my first few days because I wasn't get ready to go into the OR room, but I was able to go with Dr. Patel. I was able to actually see what he did and see a different perspective of the hospital. So some many details. I usually arrive around 8 to 8:30 a.m. with the exception being on operating room days where I have to arrive at around 7 or 7:15. And Mondays and Thursdays are clinic days, whereas Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday are operating room days. So I'd say that my favorite day is probably Thursday and Friday because it's the end of the week. I get to have a clinic day and I get to have an OR day. And then my favorite hospital is going to be Westmount because we have our own office space there, and I like the staff there. It's really a positive vibe over there. This is where we have our daily or Monday lectures. So everyone will take a seat, and then the presenter will sit here, and then we'll present our slideshow. It's a pretty convenient way because we all learn about a specific topic. So this is a sample presentation that I created for a lecture that I presented a week ago, and it focused on lumbar lordosis. And my research fellow told me to add pelvic incidence, which is which pelvic incidence and lumbar lordosis are very closely related because your PI can almost determine what lumbar lordosis you have. There's something called pelvic incidence to lumbar lordosis mismatch, which you want to have less of so you have more balance within your spine. And I would teach this to other students. So now I start to search up and look at my research. So because I had the lecture about lumbar lordosis on Monday, I put the search for lumbar lordosis PubMed, and it gives me a list of articles and research papers that have been done and reviewed by the scientific society. And I can use data from this to help my presentation and to further my understanding. So with this research, I put this into papers or Google Docs, and in this case, I put methods, and then I put an excerpt or an image that showcases or summarizes the main idea of the article. And since they're all going to be methods that solve L4 to S1, I try to put the data that I can use in my research paper, and this has been my main goal because I'm trying to compare while I'm doing this internship, L4 to S1, and how Dr. Patel's method of doing an X-lift, T-lift, and then pelvic screws compares to another method, which I'm thinking I'm going to compare it to an A-lift. So on some days, usually on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Friday, I get to visit the OR, and this is a super cool opportunity because sometimes I've been able to see patients before, during, and after surgery, which is the case on the left side where it's this person who had a collapsed spine and uh, the position of their body was really slumped. And after the surgery, they still have to do some stuff on their own, but their spine was corrected. And on the right, there is a surgery. I'm pretty sure in this surgery is actually really interesting because the person had an infection, so he had to clear that out. But this infection affected a lot of the blood pressure and stuff, so we had to abort the surgery. But it's just super cool to see and experience the OR because you get to see what tool he uses and how he approaches the body, and yeah, it's a really cool experience. And the last thing I do is meet up with the research fellow and just ask him questions. And in this video, you can just see a time lapse of me discussing some information about him. And I think this was about Notion, which is the type of spreadsheet that we use, and just like inputting my data into it and inputting my research articles into it. And he's really educated on this topic, so I'm able to ask him questions, and I communicate my progress on my projects about L4 to S1 with him. And yeah, this is the end of the video, and this is just a great time to talk about how much I've enjoyed doing this internship, because it taught me a lot about what a doctor does. And not only does a surgeon do surgery, he also, like Dr. Patel, also writes research papers and meets with patients before and after, gets their feedback. It's a whole process, and it provided insight that I didn't know before going into this. So it was a really cool experience, and I hope to do it again next summer.